I honestly feel like in a way I gotta step back from all this stuff. I mean, how much does it really affect my life? How much does this stuff really, make a difference? I don't know. I feel like it doesn't. I feel like I've fallen in a trap, and I feel like I can't help but look at, maybe some famous artists back then, like even writers like F. Scott Fitzgerald or something,
Classic writer.
Classic writer in Baltimore.
Just because your name's Scott, you look him up.
Yeah.
You're looking up Scott Albrecht on Google. Like, who the fuck is F. Scott Fitzgerald?
I like Great Gatsby, but just going through like a war or something, like what did they do during those times and all? And I feel like, where the fuck was I going with the story? I lost my train of thought. I feel like I just can't get. There's to a point where I'm like, dude, I'm so involved in this shit. Like, what is it actually doing for me? Like, am I really progressing my life, or am I gonna get to the point of just being like everybody else? And
well, I've had to step back. I think everybody's kind of gone through this at some point or another. I would watch the news constantly and watching YouTube politics and shit like that. And at a certain point, it just becomes. It's a powerless feeling, because at a certain point you just realize I have no control over this. Like, and I'm dedicating so much time to trying to understand it and trying to be right about it and trying to know more than the other guy and all this extra bullshit and like confirm my view over, and it's like at the end of the day, the only thing I can really do is just try to, try to invest in myself and try to improve myself and put myself in a position where I'm understanding that, it's like, it's weird because for the longest time, depending on where you are in society and who you are in society, a lot of these things don't really affect you. But now we're getting into a situation where everybody's affected, everybody is affected, and we're really actually getting a firsthand glimpse of just how ineffective the people who are supposed to help us are. Yeah. And so now everybody's invested. And everybody's coming to that realization at one time or another that there's no way, like, what are we going to do? Wow. And it's like people talk about like with Eric and gardening, like for me, I spent my entire unemployment money on just trying to build up the podcast and get new studio equipment for music and stuff like that, because I was like, well, that seems like the best investment I could make for myself, understanding that there's nothing I can do beyond that other than just try to make myself the best version of myself. Right. But you need a purpose. And what happens is, it's like when you're not allowed to work, when you're relying on someone else to hand you money, everybody's kind of going through this thing where it's like, if you're fortunate enough to still have your job and not be that affected by it, it's one thing. Right. But for the millions and millions of people that aren't lucky enough to have that be their situation, it's like there's a certain kind of, I don't know what the exact word is for it, but you just feel useless to be sitting around just waiting for somebody and relying on somebody to get you to the next week. But it's like, it's like there is a certain aspect of like human nature requires that I feel like I'm a participant in this society. I'm not wired to sit back and just be, a computer player in something and just wait to see what they do and just, oh, thank you very much for the check, sir. And it's like you get to a point where everybody, like, I think a lot of the things you were talking about when you came to CVP yesterday, you were talking about the kind of emotional stuff you were going through and just like where you are mentally. And, the substances is definitely a thing, but I think it's a lot bigger than that. I think what we're all dealing with, because I'm going through the same thing, is just a lack of purpose in general. You don't feel like you're really allowed to do what you're supposed to be doing, so you're trying to.
Well, like also like I think for all three of us, it was like, all right, we all chose to do the things that we're doing instead of go the regular fucking college, regular desk job type of shit, and we kind of like put all of our chips in on that card, and then the entire world shut down. You're like, all right, you can't do that anymore. Yeah. Sorry. Put your dream on the back burner for a second.
Right. You can't help but feel helpless.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll talk to my girlfriend about this too, because she and her mom, they lived on a reservation in Canada. They're part of the Cree Nation, Cree tribe. And I can't help but to think that, like, again, like you have people that have been wiped out. They're like a 1%, right? So they get all this, these benefits from the government that that there's a lot of substance abuse, a lot of people that just are lazy on these reservations, that have a feeling of no purpose because they're just getting handouts all the time, which, granted, like, yeah, that's like for sure for them being wiped out, like, why not? But at the same time, I can't help but to think, like, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe the government knows that, like, you know what, if we just give them this stuff, then, like, fuck it, like, they're not going to try to do better because, like, they feel like, well, shit, like, yeah, we do deserve this because you did kill our people. Like, fuck it, I'm going to chill now because this is my time to chill because fuck you, you did this to us,
Yeah.
And it feels like that right now, like us as American people getting these handouts, we can't help but to feel like, you know what, fuck the government. Yeah, I do deserve this money because this is all they're doing. This is all their fault. And so fuck it, I'm going to spend this money, on some other shit, whether it be clothes, whether it be, shoes, but no one's actually really thinking about, like, yo, how can I invest this money and just, like, start a business or two?
A lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't. And that that way of, you can even look at the welfare system and how it does. And that was another thing that really came, like, I kind of saw it firsthand, and it made a lot of sense to me. It really clarified it in my mind exactly how people get stuck in that cycle where most people experience it when you're getting $900 a week to not work. And then when they were trying to open up the economy, everybody's sitting there going, wait a second. So if I go back to work, I'm going to make less money than if I don't. And so what happens is you're forced to make a decision between investing in yourself and doing something that might offer you a better future, or just settling and folding and saying, well, I'll just take what I can get, because there's also a chance that, if I take this risk and get rid of my benefits, that I might end up worse off. And then I'm fucked. And so it's the government, there's people that the people that are instilling these welfare programs, I don't know exactly how it works. I'm not even going to pretend to know how exactly it works, but there's a reason why people benefit by keeping people permanently slaves to the government. Right. These government contractors that are making money off of welfare programs and things like that, they benefit. The more people that are reliant on that system, the better off they are. And so they have no interest in motivating people out of that. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you're a pizza place, you have no interest in motivating people to become vegan. It's like, I need customers, Yeah. So if I'm somebody who makes my money in that system, it's everything in my power I'm doing to try to make sure people stay in that system. And unfortunately, a lot of people, whether they don't have the motivation to do it or the gumption to do it, but a lot of people might not even have the wherewithal to do it. Maybe they might not be able to make more money on their own, and so they never try.
Yeah.
And so we become slaves of the government. But like you're saying, on those reservations, there's substance abuse issues and things like that, where people have this lack of purpose. And that ultimately is what leads to that depression and things like that, because you really don't feel like you're doing anything.
Right.
You can even see that when people get stuck in those 9-to-5 corporate jobs where, like, as human beings, we're wired to be like you said, we're tribal people, and everybody wants to feel like they're playing a part in something. And before society and all that stuff, like, you exist in a community of maybe 150 people, or maybe even a smaller tribe, and everybody plays their part. You're supposed to contribute to something. You feel valuable. You're a valuable member of the tribe. When you take that away from, when somebody works a 9-to-5 job in some shit that they hate, where they don't even see how anything they're doing even contributes to what's going on, they're just some pencil pusher in a cubicle. And they just know that, oh, here's my work. I just do this shit day in, day out. I don't even know where down the line it even matters. I'm just doing some bullshit job and getting paid for it. They have no connection to any of their contributions to the world, and they get stuck in it. Right. And those people get depressed. Now you're taking it to another level. Well, now they don't even have that.
Right.
You're just living day to day. Just, I get paid to just be a fucking nobody.
Right.
And that's worse.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like, I feel like even in those situations, whether you work in an office or you're a janitor, you have to truly believe that what you're doing is contributing to something, so that you don't fall into those places of the depression or anxiety. I mean, again, that's what I felt like I was suffering for a little bit. I'm sure it'll come around again, but it's because of, like you were saying, not feeling like you have a sense of purpose. And I feel like, especially in America, like, because of social media, because you have so many examples of people that are getting not just money, but like crazy amounts of money for it almost looking like it's effortless. Mm-hmm. You have then moments where, you know, you go to a retail store, you go to a restaurant, and the attitude of these people are just like, what's up? Okay, sure, da da da. You know, and I get that. It sucks because you have something that you're striving for that's bigger. Mm-hmm. So this is not your actual job. But so many people, I feel like, aren't motivated enough to actually get out of that, and it creates this like sense of depressions and feelings because, again, you don't feel like you belong. You have some people that go, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to be a superstar. I'm just going to be a manager at this restaurant. Mm-hmm. And so then they themselves, you know, they find a purpose within that little thing, you know, that may drive them out of that feeling. But I can't help but to think like most times where I go places now, it just feels like nobody gives a shit about anything. And it's, again, we have all this like mental health issues in this country, and I do think those are real. But at the same time, I feel like no American is actually considering like, why are these things happening? There's just like, just take a pill and you'll feel good. Or, you know, like, yes, these are things that we go through as humans. Like, don't worry. Like, you know, just just accept it and like let it, you know, they try to find like, I don't want to say excuses. Again, like, I think these are real feelings. And again, like I've felt these things, but I have to literally try in my brain to like figure out what exactly is going on. I have to like write it down. Like why can't I stop thinking so negatively? Why can't I help but be jealous? Why can't I help? You know, I keep asking myself the whys to really try to like reverse everything. Yeah. And it's crazy. And I feel like many people don't want to go through that to, you know, they just want the
it's
easy
just
way.
easier to, It's easier just to be jealous or like, because then you don't have to think about it and think about okay, so what did they do that I didn't do? Or like, was it just luck? Like, why can't I be fucking lucky like that? Or, and then it just becomes a spiral, and it's just no good. But also, you know, we're in such a weird fucking time where you feel like you're trying so hard and it's not doing anything. And a lot of people are going through that. And yeah, it's easier just to be like, okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
Give me that check.
Yeah. Well, especially when you brought up the pill thing, I think that's a good example, because a lot of people, there's almost a taboo of even discussing how to deal with things like depression and anxiety, aside from just saying it's a medical condition, it's chemical imbalance. It's nothing, you know, like you got, you know, if you tell somebody that's taking antidepressants that maybe there's other solutions. I'm not like, there's obviously people that are dealing with real chemical imbalances that are like, not psychosomatic, that they're real things that there's nothing you can do. Just like, you know, if you walk up to a guy who has cerebral palsy and tell him if he really tries, he's going to walk. It's like, no, dude, he's not going to walk. Right. But I think that's the minority of people. I think that the vast majority of people are stuck in a cycle like we were talking about this whole time about finding a purpose. And just like anything in life, like if you want to get stronger, you have to go to the gym and work out and push yourself through that to work through that. Right. A lot of people, there's kind of this weird mentality like, I understand about the income inequality in this country and the transfers of wealth to the top, which are happening blatantly in front of our faces right now. But I've never looked at my situation in life and said, I'm in my situation right now because of this billionaire or something like that. I've never looked at that. I've always looked at it as like, I'm in the situation in my life because of the decisions that I've made and the person that I've been. And so, but there's a certain amount of power, it's all the power to that, because when you take responsibility for your own life, you have maintained control of your own life. You've also given yourself the power to change it. When you sit there and say, I'm in the situation I'm in, I'm feeling the way I'm feeling because of something that's out of my control, you've given away your power. You're now relying on somebody else. You know, when you're a person who feels the way you feel and that I feel from time to time with depression, anxiety, and you say there's nothing I can do about it, so I'm going to take this pill or something like that essentially just numbs me to it, then you never actually give yourself the opportunity to grow and get beyond it. Like when you're sitting there going retro and thinking in reverse of why am I thinking this way? Why is it that these negative thoughts keep creeping into my mind? And it's forcing me to have this outlook on the world and these like negative feedback loops that are just bringing me down. Instead of thinking about it, you could just fucking drink more. Yeah. Or take Xanax or something like that. You know what I mean? But you're never actually fixing the problem. You're just going to be permanently stuck in that mental headspace and permanently reliant on some other substance or some other person to numb you to it. And there's an industry behind that. Like people talk shit about big pharma all the time, but when you bring it into this conversation, everybody kind of gets like real tough. Oh, don't talk about depressants and stuff. It's like, if I'm a guy who manufactures antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication, I want you to think you need my medicine. I don't want you to think that you're in control of your own feelings and your own emotions and your own life, because then you're not going to pay me money.
Yeah.
And everybody understands that when you talk about other things, but for some reason there's this pushback you get when all you're really doing is trying to tell someone that you are in control of your own life. Right. And so many people hate hearing that.
Yeah.
It's across the board. When you look somebody in the eye and say, "Hey, dude, and I know obviously that I'm speaking in generalizations, and there's obviously outside factors that every person is dealing with on a person-to-person basis. But as a general theme, nobody has more of an effect on your life than you. Yeah. Nobody is more responsible for your place in life than you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
But people don't want to hear that. And there's an industry and people making money and preying upon telling you that you're not in control because they're in control.
Right.
And so like what we were saying before, it all goes back. The only way to truly get your power back
is to take the mask off.
But it starts with investing in yourself.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, it's true. Mask off. No. Yes, it's true. Investing in yourself. And I mean, again, I think what was something I've always been so good at is like sitting with myself, like talking to myself. It wasn't until this year that I really didn't do much of that because, you know, I live with my girlfriend and my roommate, and we are all in there 24/7 during this time, you know, socializing. I don't really have a moment to myself to really think about, like, what is it that I'm doing? Like, what is it that I'm thinking? How am I feeling? And then going into the substances and I think that a lot of people, you know, maybe I was lucky. Maybe I was lucky that I was able to see it so early on. Maybe there's people that have suffered, you know, for 10 years, 20 years, and they're so far into the hole that they can't even, you know, try to get out because they're so far gone from it. Whereas at least for me, like I was saying to you at CVP, you know, we were athletes in high school. We know how to cut weight. We know how to work out. If we do get fat, we know how to instantly try to fix ourselves, correct ourselves. A lot of people, they don't get to, they haven't experienced something like that.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part. And it's how do you get to not try to give another perspective to somebody without trying to hurt their ego or make them think that what they're doing is, you know, right or wrong.
Yes.
You know, but to try to talk to someone to just see something different than what they're so comfortable or you know, used to.
Yeah.
That's the challenging part that I don't know.
That was definitely the most, I mean, if not the thing that I took away from sports and not just sports, it's really anything that I've dedicated myself to, and this is the case for obviously everyone, is that was the first time in my life when I actually realized that I could manifest something. That, like, if I had envisioned that I was not going to be chubby anymore and stop losing every single fucking wrestling match, if I could picture that in my mind and take steps towards achieving that it's actually possible. I remember the first time I walked out my sophomore year and I pinned some kid, and I literally, this wave of like, holy shit, this is real. Like, I actually did this. It's actually possible. And that's something that a lot of people never get brought into touch with, you know? And that's a benefit we have. On the same token, when you were talking about, you know, we obviously transferred that to our own individual careers in terms of what we're trying to achieve in the long run, which goes way beyond fucking football and wrestling. That was a big thing I took away, was like, when I go back to those, you know, wrestling meets or go in the practice room and talk to kids. I haven't done it in a while because I really don't feel a connection to it anymore in that way. But when I would go back, I would always kind of say, like, look, like, all this stuff you're doing, like, nobody's going to, in 5 years, nobody's going to care if you were state champion. Nobody's going to care about this match or that match. What matters is the man you become and the things you take away from this. Because, you know, unless you're going to the fucking Olympics for wrestling or going to the NFL for, football or whatever, it's like that's not what you're getting from this. You're learning how to cope with things in life that are going to hit you way harder than this. And it's going to be even that much harder because at least in sports, you have a pretty clear-cut thing of like, I need to get stronger. Okay, I'm going to lift weights. I need to lose weight. Okay, I'm going to diet. I need to get faster. Okay, I'm going to do sprints. In life, nobody, like what you're talking about, you actually have to first figure out what the fuck is plaguing you. So many people, it's like you're sitting there on a computer and you're just going and there's something running in the background and you don't even know, but it's slowing your computer down. Like my fucking computer right now, I can't figure out how to fucking fix it. But there's all kinds of shit just running in the background of your mind that's dragging you down. And unless you actually take the time to go through your mind and try to find, what the fuck is this file? What the hell is this doing?
Yeah, why do
here?
I have 90 tabs open in my subconscious?
Exactly. And then after that's part of the process, which is identifying the problem, which is the main issue. But then you have to have the strength to fix it. And that's going to be way harder at the end of the day in life than any, I had to lose 10 pounds before my tournament this weekend. But you're taking something beyond that. You derive meaning out of certain things, which is why it's important, even if you're gardening or just investing in a fucking garage to put cool mics and cameras and stuff. It's like you have to create your own meaning.